Welcome to another episode of the Only Playbook. It's Swikar, Shashowt, Shovit. Welcome to offseason football. How's it going, guys? Happy Friday.
Woo! Happy Friday / Shashowt's birthday.
Hell yeah.
That just felt like a surprise for some reason. I keep forgetting that this is the day of birth for me.
How are you forgetting your 21st birthday, bro? That's crazy. It's like when all the drinking takes place.
Yeah, that's probably why, because I don't want to think about the drinking that's about to happen in a couple of hours.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, off-season's been in wild effect. We've seen a ton of moves. I think the next big thing is the draft is upon us, officially 3 weeks away. So we want to spend some time and talk about quarterbacks. I know that's been such a big topic of conversation. Is this a shitty quarterback class, or is there going to be some Tom Brady diamond in the rough that comes out of nowhere? We want to talk about all of that. So let's get right into it. Obviously, if you enjoy our content thus far, we're everywhere in terms of social media, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at the Only Playbook, all the Spotify, Apple, Google, Anchor listening apps. If you're watching on YouTube. So thank you so much for all the support. Let's get into the top five. I'll give you guys my top five list first. My top five list of quarterbacks in this 2022 NFL draft class. I'll go 5-1. And it was tough for me going from like having a 6 and a 5th because it was really, really close. So I'm going to go 5B, 5A. So it's going to be 6 for the sake of my list. Number 6 or number 5B, I have Sam Howell, quarterback out of North Carolina. Number 5, I have Carson Strong, quarterback out of Nevada. Number 4, Matt Corral, quarterback out of Ole Miss. Number 3, Desmond Ridder, Cincinnati quarterback. Number 2, Kenny Pickett, small hands out of Pittsburgh. And number 1, I have Malik Willis out of Liberty.
Solid.
Nice.
Give us your list.
That's a great list. That's a great list. So number 5 for me is going to be Carson Strong out of Nevada. Number 4, Matt Corral from Ole Miss. Number 3 is going to be Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh. Number 2, Malik Willis from Liberty. And number 1, last but not least, Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati.
Nice. Wow, we're going to have a lot of variety here, and you guys might be shocked in my choices. But number 5, I have Sam Howell from North Carolina. Number 4, I have Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati. Number 3, I have Matt Corral from Mississippi. Number 2, I have Malik Willis from Liberty. And number 1, I have Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh. Small hands, big heart.
Damn. Okay. So very, very interesting right off the bat. Obviously, there are some differences in our list. Let's start from the bottom. Let's start with Sam Howell out of North Carolina. Just a couple of things I want to know, and then I'll open the floor to you guys about him. First of all, he has a lot of similarities to Baker Mayfield. I mean, he looks a lot like Baker Mayfield. He's got that beard. He's got that kind of similar stature. He plays with that same kind of tenacity. He obviously doesn't have the arm talent that Baker Mayfield has, which is, I think, the biggest hindrance for him. But he's a smaller quarterback who shows a lot of like weird, unorthodox type running. Like he almost looks like a fullback or a running back running the football at times because of how like big and stocky he is. And he just bounces off tacklers. So really, really weird. I just didn't really know what to make of that. His passing isn't amazing. Again, some accuracy issues. I don't know if the arm strength is there as well, and progressions, but that's kind of what I saw from Sam Howell.
Yeah, Sam Howell didn't make my list. A lot of his questions and it's all about uncertainty. It's not what he can do, what he can't do, because they ran an RPO on 40% of offensive plays. So, I mean, you just don't know if that arm strength and that accuracy is all there. Just being with some of these other guys out there, he went 6th on the draft boards for me as far as quarterback goes, just because of the uncertainty. You don't really know what you're getting with them.
Yeah, those are all valuable points. Swikar mentioned some good things. Shovit mentioned some things why it's a risk. Well, here's some data, I guess. His passing numbers have declined year over year as most of North Carolina's skill position players had left for the draft last spring. But Howell is arguably the best deep passer in this year's draft class. His mobility is what Swikar talked about, what separates him from a lot of people. He does look like a running back. And, that's what allows him to extend plays, right? He rushed for 828 yards and 11 touchdowns, both of which ranked in the top 7 in the ACC last season. In fact, he finished with 98 or more rushing yards in 7 of the 12 games in 2021. That's insane, right? And that's a lot to do with the RPO style offense, which Can you run that in the NFL? I don't know. And that's where the uncertainty comes into play. But per PFF, Howell's 65 forced missed tackles last season are the most by a Power 5 quarterback since 2014. So it is a whole new animal that's coming into the NFL. And, there's really nothing that's like this guy. Baker Mayfield is a close comparison. If Baker Mayfield, was more of a runner, then it would be like identical. So it's a junior, 6'1", 218 pounds. He's like a runner built in a Drew Brees style body. So it's like, it's something different than what we're used to.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest gripe with him is exactly the fact that he ran the RPO offense. And we know that there's NFL teams now that try to incorporate a lot of that when they draft a quarterback that they see has potential in that, like a Lamar Jackson. But Sam Howell doesn't offer the upside that like a Lamar Jackson does to where you're going to shift your entire offense around him. So that's why my concern, again, Shovit, the uncertainties is, can he actually run an NFL offense, or was he the, I don't know. He was a system quarterback that thrived running the football more because of those keepers and those read options. So time will tell. Number 5, or I guess next quarterback on the list, going from the bottom for both of us, Carson Strong out of Nevada. My 2 cents here. What's funny is he doesn't have the tall, like the lengthy quarterback build, but he's got the stocky build, and he reminds me a lot of Shovit, Big Ben. He's like little Ben because he's not tall like Big Ben, but he's stocky. He knows how to maneuver in the pocket just enough to make up for his lack of athleticism, which I think a lot of quarterbacks can learn from, because not every quarterback is athletic. So he doesn't let that be a hindrance. He's got, to me, the best combination of accuracy and arm talent in the draft, right? I think he's really, really accurate. They ran an offense where it was a lot of throwing the ball down the field, and he excelled greatly at that. But the biggest question mark for him is he's got bad knees. Arthroscopic knee surgery in college. Shashowt, I don't know, from a medical perspective, I know that can't be like having front offices be like, you know what, that's nothing to worry about. Let's take this guy. If this guy was in the 3rd round, I think you absolutely take a flyer on him. I hope he doesn't go earlier than that, because I just don't see it.
Yeah, he's like probably the traditional throwback quarterback, not a big runner. He's gonna be in the pocket. He's not gonna be a immobile quarterback, some of like the other guys that we've talked about. But so as far as the teams that could potentially grab him, you said the 3rd round, the Tennessee Titans could be a good spot for him, or the New Orleans Saints, teams that. Titans already have Tannehill, but like a good, moving forward from Tannehill. And then the Saints just have Jameis Winston. So he could be a good addition, and just kind of see how he performs in an NFL stage. But yeah, you're right. The medical issue is a big concern, dropping him down to 5th and not, higher based on the fact that he's got one of the best accuracy and arm strength. And Shashowt, you can talk more about his, knee injury, but that's probably what's bringing his stock down more than anything.
Yep.
Yeah. So I didn't even rank him, right? Because this knee injury is that big of a deal. It's nothing that you can shoo over. This day and age, people don't like drafting quarterbacks with knee history, with injury history. And he's had this history since high school. He's just been dealing with it. And now that he has some time before he goes to the NFL, they decided to do the arthroscopic knee surgery. It's not serious. Like, the knee surgery is not a big deal because it's just a little hole. I had an arthroskoptic knee surgery done too when I tore my meniscus. But regardless, it's invasive.
That's what ended your football career.
Yeah, that's when I decided to not play. I can still juke move out there on the field just as good as the next guy. But right. I decided not to play anymore. But the injury history is significant, right? So, these are some of the cons: the ball placement in all areas of the field. He likes to go deep. This guy's a top tier arm strength. That's why we like him, right? And the Big Ben thing, like, here's the thing. Big Ben succeeded in what he did because he was big. He could shed off tackles and he stayed in the pocket, right? This day and age, the only thing that's going this guy's way is that he's a pocket quarterback. If you have a knee injury history, you're not going to fit in with the Lamar Jacksons. You're going to end your career in 2 years. No one's going to draft you for that reason. So because he's got a pocket presence, he needs to play like a pocket quarterback. So we don't have any worries about him running the ball, injuring the knee more. But as a rookie, you get drafted to shitty teams. Shitty teams typically includes shitty offensive line, huge risks. Joe Burrow, look what happened to him, and he didn't even have any knee problems to this degree. So he's got a lot of issues as far as cons, ball placement issues, major risk taker, which I kind of like, but I also, as a very safe, like for me, a quarterback is a passer first. So, and if you can't pass properly, if you're taking too many risks, that's turnovers lead, historically lead to losses. So, lack of mobility, major risk taking, bad ball placement. These are reasons I didn't rank him, but there are some pros. Top tier arm strength, like I mentioned earlier. He has great touch on downfield throws. It just looks so beautiful. It looks like an NFL quarterback throwing the ball, and his throwing motion is probably the best in the draft. So a lot of the reasons why I like him, but it was enough. The history with the injuries and just the aggressiveness is a little too much. I need more patience from a quarterback standpoint.
That's fair. That's fair. Let's jump over to Matt Corral. Matt Corral, I'll let one of you guys start us off.
Okay, I can start off. I ranked Matt Corral number 3, 6'2", 212, very similar to Howell's size, a little bit taller, but he's got improved decision making and ball placement. Or he improved over time. This really helped him cut down on interceptions in 2021 compared to the previous season when he had 14. So 14 to 5, he's learned something there. In fact, he's got a pair of games with 5+ interceptions, or he had a pair of games with 5 or more interceptions in 2020. That's not a good sign, right? Well, he has benefited from playing in Lane Kiffin's offense, right? Like that's who wouldn't want to play for him. He throws with a quick release. He has above average arm strength, but his dual threat skill set allows him to evade pressure and extend plays or be a weapon on design runs. And everybody wants that. That's like the goal in this day and age with the NFL. You want a big guy who can throw deep, who can, use his legs as well as having above average arm strength. So, it's easy to appreciate his competitive nature on the field. That, along with his relatively slight frame, has the potential to lead to increased durability risk in the future. So, what that basically translates to is like, if you're 6'2", 212, you're not going to be able to take this dual threat side of you and flourish with the running side. You're going to have to understand you're a passer first. You're not big enough. You're not big enough to take damage is basically what that translates to. So those are my worries, but I have way more pros than I have cons. That's why I ranked him number 3.
Shovit.
Nice. Yeah. So, he's not he doesn't have the physical advantage of like Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis, but I think he's a better quarterback as far as being able to throw the ball better than they can as of right now. From what we've seen, he made a 60-yard throw without having his back foot set against Alabama. So this guy can throw. And yeah, he's slinging it. And, some of the reports have said that he's generally patient, allows routes to kind of develop. And the biggest one of the cons I've seen is his maturity issues. So I wonder if that's kind of like the whole, Baker Mayfield issue there. So that's his kind of his flaw. Maybe the leadership roles aren't there, because when you look at guys, some of the other guys, they seem like true leaders for the team, where this guy just doesn't. So he's gonna be 4th on my board.
Yeah, I had Matt Corral on number 4 as well. Different reasoning. Obviously, he's had multiple ankle injuries, and that's because he likes to run the ball, and he's not the kind of guy that runs and slides, right? So he likes to take on contact. Shashowt, you mentioned his size and that durability. Those guys that are hitting him in the NFL are going to be twice as strong as the guys hitting him in college. So he's going to have to learn to adapt and learn to slide. And here's the biggest thing, and I don't know, outside of maybe Malik Willis, everybody else, I kind of feel that way, is like the athleticism that they showcase in college. Like, I don't see enough athleticism to where that's going to be a huge factor in the pros. Like, I think those are on tape. They have the advantage because they're more athletic than a lot of these college guys, the vast majority of college guys, right? Because the percentage of these guys going pro is very little. But once you get into the NFL, the speed is so much quicker that Matt Corral, to me, that's my biggest concern with him. And another thing from a quarterback perspective, every time I watch quarterbacks, the easiest thing to watch is mechanics, like how you throw the football. And everybody, like every quarterback that's been historically great that I can remember has like pretty decent quarterback mechanics, right? Like, yeah, maybe Phillip Rivers throws a little sideways. For the most part, his arm mechanics do not, like, they jump out to me as like a flaw. I'm like, I don't know, that he doesn't throw like a traditional quarterback throws. And so that's my fears, because this Lane Kiffin offense was very, very RPO. It's like one read, quick throw, and he can make that quick throw. But My fear is the consistency over the long haul, because again, like you said, he had that 60-yard throw off his back foot. So like you see flashes of greatness, but then you see that over like a consistent 60 minutes, he's not putting all of that together. And again, this is against college defenses. And so like my fear is there's not enough jump to the NFL for his skill set to be able to make that impact. That's why I have him number 4.
Cool.
My comparison there real quick was like his throwing is like Jimmy G in the sense that like this RPO offense is designed for him to know where to throw right away. Because if he's not handing it off, it's the first read. Jimmy G is perfect for that, right? Jimmy G is perfect for being able to have pre-snap reads and know exactly where to put the football. But Matt Corral possesses some more athleticism than Jimmy G. So his athleticism reminds me more of like Marcus Mariota, where it's like, yeah, he's shifty and skilled enough. And like, he was really, really good runner at Oregon in college, right? But in the NFL, he was still athletic. He was more athletic than the average quarterback, but it wasn't like that athleticism was the difference maker for him to make enough of an impact. And that's kind of what I see. Let's go to Desmond Ridder. He seems to be the one that's very, very different in a lot of our lists. So Desmond Ridder, Shovit, you have him number 1. Why?
Yeah. Oh, well, first off, this guy's fast. He ran a 4.52. And these days, you know, we like a fast quarterback that can throw the ball as well. And he's got arm strength to be able to do that. Some of the comparisons are guys like, you know, Dak Prescott. So I'm looking at, you know, the 20th pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I'm thinking that if Malik Willis is not on the board, then this guy is a proven winner, 44-6 college record. You know, and so it just seems like you can have a quarterback like this as someone you're going to shape and maybe start for the right, build a team around, but not a first year starter, but, you know, year 2, year 3, someone that could start for the Steelers.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I love this guy. It's just, there's too many, you know, even though this is a weaker NFL draft for quarterbacks, when they're all very similar and in ranking, it broke my heart to rank him number 4. But because I do like the way he plays, you know, this is the prototypical NFL quarterback that I would love to have on my team. But some of the main reasons, you know, his work ethic is unmatched. I've seen so many videos and I'm like, this guy, you know, but then again, like we only see what they present to us, right? So, but it seems like he has good work ethic and character. No one's ever complained about this, that. He seems like a good leader. It's helped him improve every season. He's gotten better and better. And, you know, he's a 4-year starter with 44 career wins. That's insane. And he led the Bearcats to college football playoffs, you know, last year. So like you guys mentioned, he's a proven winner. He makes things happen. There are some issues with his accuracy and ball placement, actually. But he has ability to process what he sees quickly and to make throws to all 3 levels of the field. He's really good at checkdowns. He's really good at the slant, and he throws a good deep bomb. It's just a matter of accuracy. And, you know, again, as a quarterback, as somebody that evaluates quarterbacks, I worry about the accuracy part, because that's not something that you can just immediately change just from going to the NFL, right? Like his lifelong process led him to be the guy he is now. Is he going to make that drastic change to all of a sudden not have accuracy issues? I don't know, but that's why he's not number 1 for me, because he has all the intangibles that I would look for in a quarterback, but the ball placement and the accuracy is still a little off.
Yeah, so Desmond Ridder is an interesting one. Desmond Ridder is, again, another guy where if you're getting him in the 2nd round or especially the 3rd round, like he's a steal. Like he has very, very increasing potential in those rounds. But again, you're talking Shovit as a number 20th overall pick in the NFL draft. And that's where my concern lies. Again, a lot of these quarterbacks, it's not necessarily that they lack skills. There's a lot of quarterbacks that have been drafted that lack skills because that's when you refine them in the NFL, right? But it's all about where you get drafted. And again, in a weaker class, all of these like mediocre quarterbacks keep getting pushed to the top. And it's like everybody's getting drafted in the 1st round. The thing with Desmond Ridder, you guys hit the nail on the head. He's a winner, went to Cincinnati, took him to the playoffs. That entire franchise or program had a culture change. And so now they're actually a big deal. They made the playoffs as a school from a, you know, weaker conference that, a lot of the critics were saying they don't belong. And yes, Alabama beat them by like 2-3 scores, but that game could have easily been like 49-0. So still some credit there. And my biggest thing with Desmond Ridder is that he did run a pro style offense at Cincinnati too, right? So he's got more processing, he's got more vision, he's got more audibles and pre-snap reads that he had to make there than a lot of these other quarterbacks that were running RPO offenses that only had like one read where the defensive end is, and if he's running, hand the ball off or run, whatever, right? So he had to run a more complex offense. The offense wasn't what carried Cincinnati, though, is the other thing. Their defense was incredible the last 3 years, so he was almost just having to do enough and not create a lot of turnovers and stuff like that. And that's where his 4.52 speed and his pass first, but make plays happen as they process on the field came into play. So he's very smart. Again, the work ethic is there. So there's a lot to like about him in the sense that when you are smart, you have work ethic, and you played in a program that won, that knew how to win. You assume that he's at least going to have those traits to take into the NFL, whether he lacks the accuracy or whatever the case is. And that's something that, because of his work ethic, maybe he could get better at, right? So that's where you're like, oh, I like what I see this guy being in like 3-4 years. But again, in the first round, it's really, really hard to justify taking him. So he's number 3 for me on my list, but I do love Desmond Ridder. If he was in last year's draft, he would have easily gone like 3rd, 4th round. And I would have been like, man, can't wait. But again, this year, maybe 2nd round, even that could be a reach, but who knows, take the flyer. But 1st round, really, really tough to grade him in a 1st round, but who knows? Cincinnati, he's a proven winner, and winners win. Joe Burrow taught us that. So, let's see what he can do in the NFL. Let's go over to Kenny Pickett, Mr. Small Hands. I know that's been a huge, huge debate across the entire NFL scope. And apparently his hands grew like a 1/4 inch since the debate started. So, he's 21, 22 years old. So maybe he's still growing. But here's my thought real quick on Kenny Pickett. My best comparison to Kenny Pickett was Teddy Bridgewater. And, there's some people can take that as glass half full. Some people can take that as glass half empty, right? Teddy Bridgewater and Kenny Pickett resemblance to me is because Kenny Pickett has the highest floor in the NFL draft to me. He's the only guy, in my opinion, that you could plug into a system and he'd be able to play. Would he be good? Would he be bad? I don't know, but like he wouldn't look like he doesn't belong out there is kind of what I'm getting at. So he's obviously the most NFL ready, having started in college for 5 years, right? So he's very, very seasoned. He's proven, not like he played in the best conference playing at Pittsburgh. So his level of competition was not great. And the other biggest thing for Kenny Pickett is he took his biggest leap his 5th year, right? So he was very, very mediocre his first 4 seasons. And then all of a sudden he took an insane leap his 5th year. His touchdowns like tripled, his interceptions decreased, and he was running the football and making plays with his feet as well. So the biggest question here becomes hand size. And I think that highest floor also means that his ceiling is very, very limited. And his ceiling is limited to me because the hand size, because he's not the most athletic guy, and because in 5 years of college football, his only year that stood out to me was his 5th year. Nothing else jumps out on page. So again, this guy is projecting to go as early as 6 to the Panthers for that value. And what we saw in 5 years of college, I can't justify it. But again, there's quarterback needy teams. And for the sake of this draft, I had him number 2.
Yeah. I think that Kenny Pickett's has a lot of cons outside of the hand issue. I really don't think the hand is any issue to worry about. This guy's improved every year, and I'm not sure that hand size correlates to success in the NFL. But some of the other things that he does need to improve on is just pocket management and making the right throws. This guy stays in the pocket way too long, and he kind of goes through his progressions, but waits too long and makes a wrong read. And so the concern with Kenny Pickett is the only reason he's this high, I think, is because of how poor the draft class is for quarterbacks this year. But the concern from him is that he's been playing 5 years of quarterback on the collegiate level, and he still is not able to kind of make the right reads and progressions throughout throughout the course of his career. And it's almost like, well, is this his peak? Like, is this guy going to get any better? He needs a lot of help in the NFL level if he wants to be successful. But looking into this, I'm like, I have him as 3rd only because some of the other guys I don't have as much faith in either. But he's got a lot of work to do, and he might go in the 1st round, but it just seems like that's only because of the climate of the quarterback situation this year.
Yeah. So I have him number one. So, but the thing is, I do agree with a lot of the things you guys are saying. What I don't agree with is the progressions. I think he's probably the best quarterback in the draft as far as quickly going through his progressions. He's actually really good at that. And another thing is, I like the fact that he's a dual threat quarterback, but focuses on throwing. He's a 4-year starter, so he's gotten all the knowledge you need to get at the collegiate level, right? So it's like I translate that over to like residency programs. Like I wouldn't trust a doctor that did 4 years or 3 years versus 4 years. That extra year kind of helps solidify who you are. The problem with that is though, like the damage you take, and he hasn't really taken much damage to question the draft value. So that's a good thing. That means he's gotten all the knowledge. He's a little bit older than everybody else, so his longevity issues. But at the quarterback position, if this works out well, longevity is never really an issue. Look at Tom Brady, look at Drew Brees, look at those guys, right? If it works out. So yeah, at the college level during those years or whatever, during the final year, he broke Dan Marino's school record and Deshaun Watson's ACC record for most passing touchdowns in a season at 42, while cutting down on interceptions to 7, right? Again, 1 year. What can you really do with that? Not much. Again, and if this wasn't this draft, there would have been other players with these type of statistics that you could compare him to that may make me put them over him, but no one really has this type of dynamic numbers in this draft. So for that reason, I have him at number one. And then the ranking system that I went with is basically who is the most NFL ready, right? Like which quarterback do I want to start on a team right now? So for that criteria, I have him as number one. And, but there are some cons. The first 4 seasons from 2017 to 2020, he threw 39 touchdowns and 25 interceptions combined, right? So did he make that leap to go to 42 touchdowns and 7 interceptions? There's a huge asterisk there because making that big of a leap, it's either steroids or it was an easy year, right? So I don't want to believe that it was a steroid. So the answer that I can give is it was just an easier situation, because it's hard to believe someone can make that big of a leap after 4 years, right? At 4 years, usually what people give at the collegiate level. A lot of people don't get that extra year to give you more data, right? So this is a very lucky situation he's been thrown in. He just happened to do it really well to the point where it moved him up to like 6th possible draft pick. So he did that part right. I am also worried about the hand size because Shovit, you said there's no correlation, but there is a correlation, but correlation does not equal causation, right? So, but there is enough data for me to be like, oh shit. So you're telling me if I draft a guy with small hands, there's a much higher chance of him not succeeding. And that is enough for me to worry, but it's also not enough for me to worry to the extent where I don't rank him number one out of these guys. So again, that's my take on Pickett. He's got good arm strength. He's got good mobility. He throws well on the move and he moves quickly through his progressions. So that is why he's the most NFL ready out of these guys.
That leaves none other than the most talked about prospect at the quarterback position this year. Probably it is Malik Willis, quarterback out of Liberty. There's a lot here, right? There's a lot to like about him. I like a lot of things about Malik Willis. And the things that I don't necessarily care for might surprise you guys. But like one thing real quick that, you can take it for what it is, but like, this is the kind of stuff that like, I start to, whatever, like during the draft combine or whatever, whenever he was like giving to the homeless or whatever, and somebody videotaped it, that wherever that was during that time that was going on was when he knew that there was going to be a lot of video cameras. It was like all that stuff was going on in that area, right? Yeah. So if this guy is known to give back to his community, outside of that scope, which I haven't looked more into, that's fantastic, bro. Like, I'm not going to question your character, but on the day that that all of the NFL people are in that area and you're like doing that and it's videotaped, call it convenient, call me skeptical about that. But like, that's not something that we're like, oh, you saw his character, he's giving back to the homeless. Yeah. If he's doing it behind the scenes, fantastic. But like, if he's doing it on the single biggest day of his life up until that point where he knew the spotlight was going to be on him, I'm not really that impressed. But take that aside. Malik Willis has the biggest ceiling in this draft class. Malik Willis's arm strength with his athleticism is literally Josh Allen, right? And Josh Allen was drafted second overall, top second overall, something like that. He was drafted very, very high. Mm-hmm. And there was tremendous amount of question marks about where he went to school, Wyoming, his accuracy, which was horrendous, right? He had insane arm strength, and he had really, really good mobility. So very, very similar to Malik Willis. Now, the biggest question mark again becomes Josh Allen took 2-3 years before he found that groove in terms of accuracy and became the quarterback that he is. So there's a lot of variables and factors that play into his development and him getting to where he is, right? If Josh Allen got drafted maybe by the Jets or something, or the Jags, and got put in a shitty situation, there's no way to know if he had made the natural progression to be who he is here. So Malik Willis has, to me, the opportunity to be something similar to that, because his intangibles, that athleticism, is something that you cannot ignore. Like, it's not like, oh, he's above average. You can't ignore his athleticism, because it's on tape. We've seen guys like that at least make some sort of an impact in the NFL, because again, that athleticism translates. It's not he's just dominating the college level. This dude's a freak, right? And so the question mark becomes, is he going to be able to refine his passing enough to where his accuracy gets good enough that he becomes viable? And obviously all of that comes into question, like progressions, decision-making, all that stuff, right? So system, coaching, having a year to sit under somebody, or maybe even 2 years to learn. I think that's the best case scenario for Malik Willis. I'm looking at the Steelers at 20, Shovit. If somebody doesn't get trigger happy, like the Detroit Lions, and draft him as high as 2 overall, which I've started to see, which I don't think is the craziest thing in the world. Look for the Steelers to jump at that if he is available at 20, even if he's available in the teens where they have an opportunity to trade up. But that's why he's number one, is because his upside is so massively high. But that's the problem with guys like this who have really, really high boom potential. They have really, really high bust potential too, right? If he never gets put into the right system, this guy could just be really, really shitty. So that's my 2 cents on Malik Willis. If I'm a quarterback hungry team and I know I'm going to take a risk at a quarterback, I know I'm going to risk one of my first rounds or second round picks on a quarterback, I'm risking Malik Willis, because Malik Willis is going to be the guy that puts me from like shitty average to next level, not just shitty average to mediocre. And like, I'm not looking for mediocre. I'm looking for the guy that's going to hit this home run. So there is the bust potential, right? But again, situationally, a team has to be like Detroit. You know what? We're slowly starting to get better. We know Jared Goff's not the answer. If they took Malik Willis at number 2, I would not hate it. But Steelers, prime position if somebody doesn't overstep their boundaries. But that's why I have Malik Willis number 1 this year.
Yeah, I mean, the 3 things is that he's fast, he can throw the ball really deep, and his potential of as being a quarterback. And I mean, those are, you highlighted the pros there. I mean, that's pretty much it. There's some cons that he's got as well. Inconsistent in his timing is what I've got here. Erratic pocket movement, which kind of like, Johnny Manziel type of deal when you're just running around with your head cut off like a chicken, and issues like that. But in terms of where he could potentially get drafted, Hugh Freeze, as his coach, was on the Eisenberg show. Eisenberg. There you go. Eisen something, that show. And I think they were saying that North Carolina, Pittsburgh, and Atlanta have spent some time with him to try to see what he's about, like see his, to how well he throws and run some drills with them. And then Mike Tomlin has actually had dinner with this guy to try to, figure out if that's who they want to go with. I can't see the Steelers trying to trade to go out and get him. But I mean, if you want someone that's going to be on the bench and like kind of condition over, and you've already seen that this guy can improve throughout his years. And so he could be a good first pick as far as quarterback goes in this draft.
Yeah, high risk, high reward in a nutshell, right? High risk, high reward because of the whole no consistency, the accuracy issues, and he doesn't have that touch as a passer because he runs around a little too much. But again, the reward part is tremendous. He's, I said Pickett has the highest floor. Well, Swikar mentioned he has the highest ceiling. It's definitely, that's a fact, right? If this guy turns out to be who we think he could be, we're not just talking Josh Allen. We could be talking better than Josh Allen because of his, Josh Allen's athletic, but at the end of the day, we got this guy and he's far more athletic as far as strength, as far as speed. So, the potential is so high. And this is one of those potentials that people are willing to take risk with, and just the way I build quarterbacks, I still like the pocket presence more because at the end of the day, you got to throw the ball. You can make plays with the running game, but at the end of the day, you got to make the accurate throw. And I also didn't like the fact that he didn't run at the combine. We all know he's got elite speed and he's dynamic and he puts tremendous stress on opposing defenses. So I think he should have kind of let us see that a little bit. It's not the end of the world, but I was kind of upset. I was like, damn, I really wanted to see this dude's 40-yard dash at the combine. But yeah, that's it. I mean, it's not too complex. Malik Willis is a pretty straightforward. And Swikar, I do agree. I think his PR team is doing a little too much here. As somebody that's seen this shit, as somebody that's seen this shit happen in front of me, like, all the time, like I've gathered this type of data throughout my life when people do stuff like this. And I'm like, bro, like, it's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious that there's that viral video that got, released or whatever. And at the end of the day, look at Deshaun Watson, right? Like, he gave his first paycheck to the cafeteria ladies, but he was still doing weird shit behind the scenes. So, like, I don't like to judge people's character for things off the field. Like, keep that away. Like, no part of my processing in a leader and as a football player will ever get stifled by off-field shit. Antonio Brown kind of brought his off-field shit to infield shit, so that kind of messed my little my saying up. But as long as you play football on the field, that's all I really care about. So Malik Willis, it's easy to take him number one. It's easy to take him number two as far as the ranking on this list goes.
Yeah, I think it's interesting nowadays, right? Like I've been wired into new age NFL where, again, like, things that stick out to me are like Brian O'Neill saying like he wished Mike Zimmer would have just said hi to him in the fucking locker room, right? Like, little things go a long way. Like, the world is ever evolving. 50 years ago, somebody talked about mental health. They were like, just suck it up. Feel better. Like, that shit doesn't exist anymore, right? There's reality that exists now, and it's proven. And so, like, I do think there is, like, the reason Mike Tomlin takes Malik Willis out to dinner's not where he's playing football. Like, that has no bearing on his football skills whatsoever, but he wants to see what kind of individual this is, right? What kind of human being he is. And I think that is a judgment to character that can translate to leadership on the field. Yes, I agree that, like, yeah, at the end of the day, the PR stuff in like social media has gotten so big that, like, nothing anybody does that they posted on social media, I don't care if you donated $1 billion, you showed it, you put it on social media, like, why? Like, what is it? It's like selfish self-gratification, right? You're more happy at the fact that people like you for what you did than like feeling better about what you did. And the reality is you're donating to charity because, like, you want to give back, not because you want other people to view you as a good person because you gave back. So yeah, I think social media has really convoluted anybody that does good, because the minute you post, hey, I just went to, I just saw a homeless guy, gave him $20, hopefully made his day. That's fantastic. You did that. But why did you have to post that you did that? Like, wasn't it already gratifying enough doing it? And so that's the weird reality that we live in. But yeah, dude, again, this NFL, this new age where everybody's looking for their Mahomeses and Allens, like, that's the appeal with Malik Willis, is the possible upside. And when, again, the constant talk around QBs this year is weak draft class, you don't want to miss on a guy that you already thought was weak and didn't have as high of a ceiling because you knew like where his floor was or like what he showed on tape. So the only guy that in my personal opinion, a first round risk, like a draft risk in the first round, because it's so valuable to get a first round pick, is Malik Willis, just because of that potential. But again, all great points. That's the beauty of the discussions that we have here. Any other quarterbacks that you wanted to highlight? Again, this is such a shitty quarterback class that, like, 6 through 10, 7 through 10, I will be absolutely baffled if any other quarterback outside of the guys we've talked about, like, makes any kind of noise in the NFL.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a few names and stuff, but I don't know if it requires highlighting, because there's that huge unknown of, will they even get drafted, or like, will they even get drafted high enough to even matter for the next couple of years? So yeah, I mean, that's a solid list, as in my opinion.
Yeah, it'll be nice to move forward. We can hit some receivers. We can hit some other key positions here in the upcoming weeks before the draft, which is in 3 weeks. The whole quarterback talk had me going through some different lists of historic classes, QB classes, some of the worst, some of the best over the last 20 years. I was talking to Shovit about a couple of them earlier, but like, we can do a quick little exercise where I'm going to bring up 3 or 4 different years.
Hello?
And I'm going to see if you guys can think of a quarterback that went that year. And then once you think of one, can you guys hear me? We're good.
I think I lost what you were saying for like maybe 2 seconds. So can you repeat like the game or what you're doing real quick?
Yeah. So basically I brought up a list of the last 20 years of QB draft classes. I'm going to basically just 3 or 4 different draft classes. I'm going to give you the year. I'm going to see if you guys can think of a quarterback that went that year. And then if you think of one, it'll be easier to think of subsequent.
Yeah.
If you guys can't think of any, I'll start to give you hints, but it's really interesting to see where these QBs went. So just a fun little exercise. Let's go with 2000. This is a tough one. I'm trying to give you like a layup first. Let's go with 2018. 2018 was number 8 on this list in terms of the best quarterback class in the last 20 years. So this was number 8, 2018. Let's see if you guys can think of any of these quarterbacks. We've literally talked about multiple of these quarterbacks in this episode today.
Josh Allen.
Boom. Josh Allen went number 7. Who went before Josh Allen? There were 2 quarterbacks that went before. Incorrect. Wrong year. Yeah, wrong year.
2018. Who went before Josh Allen?
The 2 quarterbacks that went before Josh Allen are way worse than Josh Allen.
Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota.
Nope.
Nope.
That was way early. That was a little bit earlier.
Oh, okay.
There's a quarterback that went number 1 overall, and then there's also a quarterback that went number 3 overall, and then there's a quarterback that went
Baker Mayfield.
Bam. Baker Mayfield went number 1 overall. Number 3 overall that year. He's still starting quarterback this year, surprisingly, for 18.
Panthers.
Sam Darnold.
Quarterback.
Bam. Sam Darnold, number 3. Number 10 is a quarterback that during the draft, after he got picked, said every other team that passed up on me is going to
Rosen.
Josh Rosen. Bam. He's nowhere to be found. What a fucking story. And then number 32, the last pick in the first round, a team traded back.
Teddy Bridgewater.
No. Very
Lynch.
close. Same skin color, same college.
Lamar Jackson.
Bam. Lamar Jackson went 32. That's so weird. They both got drafted 32. They both went to Louisville and they're both black. What the fuck? Crazy. Okay. Yeah. Other notables, 3rd round that year, Mason Rudolph, Shovit, your favorite quarterback. And then nobody else in that draft class is notable. Undrafted quarterback was Kyle Allen. He's the only relevant one there. All right, I'm going to do it.
The Panthers just shit the bed that year with quarterbacks.
2011. This is a PTSD year for us. 2011.
Oh, no.
Aaron Rodgers.
Wrong.
No, he's before that.
That was
2011. I'm trying to figure out what the fuck I was doing in 2011. Oh,
there was a quarterback that went number 1 overall who panned out.
Christian Ponder.
Christian Ponder went number 12 to the Minnesota Vikings. There were 3 quarterbacks that got drafted before Christian Ponder in the first round. Number 1, number 8, and number 10. Number 8, you guys be like, who the fuck is that? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe you've heard of.
Really?
Yeah. Number 10, you've heard of. Number 1, obviously you've heard of. But number 8, you're like, what?
I haven't heard of a top 10 draft pick. That's wild.
I don't know. I mean, you probably have. Maybe I'm underestimating your skills there a little bit.
Is number 1
because he's not even relevant in the NFL at all.
Like
DeMarcus Russell?
No. Number 1 had a great career. He's
Russell Wilson.
No.
Alex Smith.
Nope. 2011.
Yeah,
turn this franchise, you know.
What are they doing in 2011? College? Finished college.
Superman.
Oh, Cam Newton.
Cam Newton was number 1 overall pick in 2011. Who was number 8 and number 10? So jeez, this is tough. Number 10, I'll give you a hint. Number 10 was Sandman's sleeper quarterback that year. He thought he was gonna be really good.
Paxton Lynch.
Nope.
Dang it. I was so sure.
He was so high on this guy this year. He was like, oh, I think that's gonna be the best quarterback.
Wow. Over Cam Newton. Who was in that draft class?
Yeah, it's pretty shitty outside of Cam, man. Oh, this guy's still, yeah, I mean, he's still in the NFL. He's a backup for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Oh, wow. Bortles.
Close. That's not it. It's really close.
Gabbert.
Yeah. Man, Blaine
They're
Gabbert.
the same person for me.
Yeah, very similar. Very similar. Okay, number 8 overall, I'm just going to give you Jake Locker.
Oh my God, I remember Jake Locker.
Yeah, out of Washington, number 8 overall. Went to Tennessee, I think. The Titans drafted him.
What happened to him?
Injuries. He was already injured coming out of college, and then he just sucked. Round 2 quarterbacks this year, notable. Andy Dalton and Colin Kaepernick.
Wow.
Round 6, notable. Tyrod Taylor. Round 6.
Look who's standing.
Tyrod Taylor. Okay, and then the number 20th on the list, the worst quarterback class that we've ever had in the last
Mitchell
20 years.
Trubisky. Oh, no, he's number 2.
No.
Number 20 on this list?
You already Shovit. You guessed this guy earlier.
Oh.
This is the worst draft class in the last 20 years. So think of the biggest bust.
Oh, the guy from the Raiders.
Yep.
Jamarcus
Boom. Jamarcus
Russell.
Russell, Mr. Empty
Yeah.
Tapes, empty tapes.
Yeah,
Jamarcus
that's
Russell
right.
was number 1 overall. There's only one other quarterback that went in the first round this year. He was 22nd overall. Went to
What year
Notre
is this?
2007. He went to Notre Dame. Maybe that's giving away too much.
Oh, yeah, white guy.
Yeah, there is definitely would have been a black guy that went to Notre Dame, but yeah.
Oh
white
my
guy.
God. Oh my God. Brady. Breeze.
Yes.
Brady.
Brady what?
Quinn.
Yes, Brady Quinn, 22nd overall. There is not a single notable quarterback on this list outside of even those guys. It's so pathetic. And then I had already talked to Shovit about this off the camera, but Shashowt, I don't talk to you. 2004, best QB class on this list apparently.
2004?
Yeah,
Got to rewind back to like when I was.
just a young whippersnapper.
I can't even name Aaron Rodgers. 2006.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is a little bit later,
I can't.
right?
I can't even
Yeah, you
think
can.
of a name.
You can.
Young
There's
Drew Brees.
there's three first rounders that are Hall of Famers. Borderline,
Wow.
probably Hall of Famers.
Also Wilson. He wasn't that old.
Nice.
Oh, he's not even a Hall of Famer yet. What am I saying? Oh,
I mean, they're not Hall of Famers yet. They're not Hall of Famers yet, but they will.
no. No. Tom
No.
Brady was already there.
No.
2004.
Number 1 overall pick, number 4 overall pick, and number 11 overall pick. I'll give you a big hint. Number 1 and number 4 got traded for each other.
Oh, Phillip Rivers and Drew Brees.
Not Drew Brees. They got traded for each other like 4 years later, but during the draft, these two teams.
Oh, Eli
traded.
Manning.
Bam. Eli Manning went number 1. Philip Rivers was number 4. Number 11 just retired. Future Hall of Famer. Big Ben. Big Ben was number 11. Other notables, number 22 in the first round, JP Lossman.
Oh, nice.
Third round, Matt Schwab.
Oh, okay. Good
And then
times.
everybody else sucked. But number 2012 was the other one that to me actually trumps that. Maybe from like an overall draft class.
Ooh,
But yeah, I can see why
Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson was in the 3rd round that year, 75th overall pick. Who was in the 1st round? Shovit already knows.
How do you know this?
The first number 1 and number 2 overall pick this year were quarterbacks, and neither of which are still in the NFL. 2012
Damn, that sucks.
injuries, both
Yeah.
injuries, both injuries.
2012. Good quarterback with injuries.
This
One
guy was
could have been a Hall of
this guy
Famer.
was a franchise find. Like this guy was the next big thing.
Oh no, Alex Smith.
No.
No,
Close. Skin
I-
color
I
is
did
the only
guess
thing you got
that
right.
too.
And first name starts with an A.
Had a big beard.
Huge beard.
Oh no, Andrew Luck.
Andrew Luck was number 1. Who was drafted right after Andrew Luck?
Who was? I want to say Josh Rosen, but I already said that.
Number 2 overall, Texas school.
Oh my God.
Quarterback.
Colt McCoy.
No, that was Showit's first guess
okay,
too.
Skin color. Okay, I'm on board. Yeah. Young.
Nope, dude, that
Vince
was Showit's next guess too. No, it's not Vince Young. Vince Young. It's not
Texas quarterback.
Vince. Very short NFL career. Thought he was going to be the next big thing. I think he won a Heisman. Did he win a Heisman? I think he did.
Yeah.
Heisman winning quarterback is not Colt McCoy or Vince Young.
In Texas, not University of Texas, but
Oh.
Texas school.
Oh, this is Menzel.
Nope.
No. 2012.
Yes, 2012.
Texas Tech?
2012.
No. Texas A&M.
No.
No. Texas Longhorns. No. TCU. Boykin. No.
No.
You're saying
You're
the
getting really
exact
close.
order that
Yeah,
I
you
did.
literally are. I wish we would have recorded Shovit's because you're saying the exact same things he said. Like the schools in order, the quarterbacks. Like, oh my god, it's
Is
identical.
Keenum?
Nope, he's undrafted,
Oh yeah.
and it was that year. He was undrafted that year. Nice call.
Damn. What about is it North
number
Texas?
2 overall? Number 2
No,
overall.
oh, number 2 overall.
Yeah, North Texas. Yeah, he's considered North Texas.
What? There's no football teams here. SMU?
Yes, there is. No, not
There
SMU.
is. It's like
You're,
right
you're
between
big
right
school,
bet-
big school in the middle of nowhere. Big.
right
school.
between
Oh.
Dallas and Austin. There's a school.
Yeah.
SFA? No, it's more south.
Come on.
A&M?
No.
That's what's between
No.
between Dallas. Oh my God, Baylor.
Yeah.
Oh, RG3.
Boom. RG3. Don't you love when that light comes on? You're like, oh my
Dude,
god.
I eliminated Baylor from my map. It
Yeah.
wasn't even there.
Yeah, same.
Waco didn't even exist in your map.
No, didn't. I went straight to Austin.
Ryan Tannehill was number 8 that year. Brandon Wheaton was 22nd overall. 2nd round, Brock Osweiler. 3rd round, Russell Wilson, 75th, and Nick Foles, 88th. And then maybe the best 4th round quarterback of all time,
Whoa.
Kirk Cousins, number 102.
Wow.
Number
Warms my heart.
102. Yeah.
Thanks for that birthday present.
Notable undrafted Case Keenum. So 2 Vikings quarterbacks on this list.
Wow, that's what we do. We just go after the mediocre, hoping they turn into something good.
Okay, that's it. That's enough of that game. But again, quarterbacks, awesome to talk about. It'll be exciting to see. Hopefully, we remember this and we can think about this 5 years down the road and see how wrong we were. Maybe these are the 5 next Hall of Fame quarterbacks, or maybe all of these guys are out of the league in 2 years, and we're just like, you know what? That's going to go on this list as the worst draft class of all time and trump Jamarcus Russell. Who knows? But that's all I got. You guys got anything for quarterbacks?
No, I just wanted to ask if you guys know, there was somebody that said this draft class is actually not the worst of all time. Some NFL player came out and said that. I'm trying to remember who that was, but I can't think of it. Somebody was like, these guys will blow your mind. Just watch. But I forgot who said that.
Here's at this point, there's so many people on one side that there's probably enough people being like, I just want to be contrarian so that I can be like, I was right. And just like, you know what? This is gonna be the best class I've ever seen. You heard it here first on the Only Playbook. Thank you guys so much for joining us. That wraps up episode 52, top quarterbacks in the NFL draft. We're going to do other positions in the upcoming weeks for the draft that's in 3 weeks. Again, we're the Only Playbook. We'll see you guys next time.